Hello, it's Plant here. Today we will be reading chapters 1 and 2 of Field Trip Disaster by MissCellophane. Here's the summary. A lot has happened in the past 3 months. Can you really blame Peter for forgetting about his senior field trip? Chapter 1. Peter made it to class just as the late bell rang. "Ah, Mr. Parker. Late as usual," Mr. Harrington voiced dryly. "Sorry, Mr. Harrington," Peter replied as he made his way to his seat. Ned looked over at him in concern, waiting until he was seated to ask, "Dude, you okay? You look exhausted." "What? Yes, yeah, definitely. I am so okay that I'm fine and shit. Yeah." Peter trailed off at the amusement MJ was shooting at him. "Even I could tell that was a lie," Ned stated with a simple shake of his head. "A simple yes would have sufficed," MJ agreed, turning back to her book. Peter floundered for a response and was thankfully kept from replying by Mr. Harrington. "Mr. Parker, Mr. Leeds, Miss Jones, if you three are done." "Sorry, Mr. Harrington," Peter and Ned echoed among snickers. MJ nearly shrugged in response. "As I was saying, today we will be going on a field trip. Now, as many of you are aware, I have kept where we are going a secret." Murmurs of excitement filled the room. Mr. Harrington had kept the destination a secret since he revealed the trip nearly a month ago. Whenever someone asked, he would just tell them it had to do with science, and he was thrilled that they even get to go. Added to that was the fact that they had to sign NDAs, and even a waiver, which obviously meant that they were most likely going to be doing and or seeing something potentially dangerous. Peter lost interest at that point, as his Stark watch vibrated lightly on his wrist. 8:07 a.m. Future husbando. Me with the cup. Attached was a picture of Harley and Mai, covered in flour. Mai was sitting on the counter laughing as she smushed eggs into Harley's hair. And even though Harley looked deadpan, Peter could see the amusement glittering in his eyes. Peter's lip twitched upward. He could never leave those two alone in a kitchen, can he? 8:07 a.m. To future husbando. It's 8 a.m. Why are you covered in flour already? 8:07 a.m. Future husbando. We were making pancakes. 8:07 a.m. Future husbando. Obviously, we nailed it. Peter rolled his eyes fondly. 8:08 a.m. To future husbando. Obviously. 8:08 a.m. To future husbando. Save me some? 8:08 a.m. Future husbando. Shrug emoji. Peter was dragged out of his conversation with Harley by a loud bang a few inches from his hand. Looking up with wide eyes, he caught sight of a smug flash. "Better confess now, penis. It might just save you some embarrassment." Peter furrowed his brow. "Embarrassment? From what?" he asked, confused. "That's what I was trying to get your attention for," Ned said excitedly. "We're going to Stark Industries for our field trip." Peter's mind blanked. His watch vibrated. 8:09 a.m. Future husbando. Hey, you okay? Your heart rate just skyrocketed. "Oh, what's that face for, penis? Finally realize you can't keep up with your shitty lie anymore?" Flash taunted. "Shut up, Flash. No one cares about your obsession with Peter," MJ called over her expression board. "The only one obsessed with him is you," Flash shot back. MJ raised a brow. "Right, you're just obsessed with his dick." Laughter flitted across the room as Flash worked his jaw in anger. You... Enough! The bus is waiting for us outside," Mr. Harrington said as he re-entered the room. Peter didn't even notice him leave. 8:10 a.m. to future husbando. "I'm good, just a loud noise that startled me." 8:10 a.m. future husbando. "Sure." Peter sent him back a heart emoji as he headed out of the classroom with the others. The bus ride there went a lot smoother than Peter had feared it would. After boarding, Peter had quickly put on his custom noise-canceling earphones that Harley and Tony had made him a few months back. According to Harley, he didn't like seeing Peter flinch whenever they went out somewhere crowded. It was a sweet gift that Peter absolutely loved and used pretty much every time he went out. They were lightweight and fit easily into his ears, almost unnoticeable if you weren't looking for them. The best part? Peter could change how much he could hear, so he could still wear them and have a conversation. Flash had also tried to get his attention a couple times during the ride, but Peter was more interested in his conversation with Harley. Eventually, Flash got so annoyed that he gave up, slumping back into his seat with a scowl. Peter was dragged out of his little bubble by Ned, excitedly hitting his shoulder. "We're here!" he exclaimed as soon as Peter took out his headphones. "Yay!" Peter said unenthusiastically. He even gave little jazz hands. "You could at least try and sound excited," Ned huffed as they got up. Peter shrugged. "Sorry if I don't really care about touring my own home." Flash shoved past them. "I can't wait to see your face after everybody finds out the truth," he said smugly. Peter rolled his eyes. "All right, everybody. Please try to be on your best behavior. We are going to be touring Stark Industries after all." Mr. Harrington called over the group as they headed inside. "Hear that, Parker?" Flash dramatically held up a hand to his ear. "It's the sound of your reputation going down the drain." He laughed gleefully. Peter rolled his eyes, not in the mood to entertain him. Whatever, Flash. Their tour guide was a college-age woman who Peter had never personally met. She had dark hair pulled up into a bun and blue eyes shining brightly behind black-rimmed glasses. A bright purple badge with the image of a butterfly in flight hung off her neck. "Hello, everybody. I will be your tour guide today. My name is Tony. That's with an I, and before you ask, no, I do not know Tony Stark personally, nor are we related." She added the last bit with a little bit of exasperation, as if she'd heard that question one too many times. She then went over the guidelines and different security levels as she handed out passports. They were blue with the words tour group printed onto them. Peter pulled out his own pass, which was a simple gold with Peter P.K. written on it and a smiling flower drawn by mime. Harley thought it would be funny to get each other's last initials onto each other's badges. With a light blush at the thought, he quickly pulled the badge over his head just as Tony finished her spiel. "And these blue badges are one of the lowest levels. Don't try to use them after you leave today. As a rule, Mr. Stark has designed them so they time out as soon as you leave the building. I hope you have everything you need with you." There was scattered laughter. "Right." She clapped her hands to get their attention. "Now that you all have your badges, let's head through security." "Miss, you forgot Mr. Parker," Harrington informed her with a frown. Tony tilted her head. "Did I?" She checked her Stark pad. "But it says here he already has a pass," she mumbled to herself. She turned to him. "Peter Parker, right? Do you have your pass on you?" she asked to the confusion of the class, sans Ned and MJ. Peter nodded meekly as he held up his gold pass. "Where the hell did you get that?" Flash asked in shock. "All employees and interns have badges," Tony answered, "though very few have gold badges like Peter's. You work with Mr. Stark personally, don't you?" she asked with a smile. Peter nodded. Yeah, he replied sheepishly. Before Flash could make a snide remark, Tony thankfully guided them toward the security scanner. Right, just scan your badge like so. She waved her purple badge over a small screen on the scanner. A green light briefly flashed above it and walked right through. The guard nodded to her, and she grinned right back. Hey, Carl, she chirped brightly. Hi, Tony. Another tour group, huh? Carl replied, glancing the group over. Yep. As they spoke, the rest of the group went through the scanner. As soon as the last person was through, Tony turned to them with another bright grin. This way to the elevator, then. We're going to be heading up a floor to the museum level. They all followed her to one of 3 large elevators. These elevators are usually meant for maintenance, but I have permission to use them for large tour groups. Once they were all in, she called out, Museum floor, please. Right away, Mrs. Wright, a soft, feminine voice replied. Wow, it's moving. She didn't even press a button. Who spoke? Miss, how did you do that? And who is that voice? Betty Ann asked in surprise. That was Friday. She takes care of everything in the building. At their confused looks, she added, Friday is an AI that Mr. Stark had created to run the building for him while he was gone. Say hi, Friday. Actually, he created her for a suit, but had decided to install her in the building when she showed above-average intelligence. But Peter wasn't going to tell anyone that. Hello, everyone. I hope you have fun on this trip, Friday immediately replied. So, this Friday, she can tell if someone hacked into Stark Industries to make it seem like they have a job, right? Flash asked with a smug look towards Peter. I suppose, Tony shrugged. I am equipped to handle all types of hacking. It is nigh impossible to hack me without me or Mr. Stark knowing about it. Friday answers as they got out of the elevator. So, you can tell if someone here hacked in, right? Flash continued. For fuck's sakes, Flash, I didn't hack Friday. Peter huffed in annoyance. Language. Mr. Parker, Mr. Thompson, give it a rest. We are here to tour SI, not antagonize each other. Mr. Harrington cut in tiredly. Even he was done with Flash's shit, it seemed. But I assure you, Mr. Thompson, Peter does indeed work here. Friday added, Speaking of, hello, Peter. Peter smiled up at one of the many cameras he knew littered the area. Hi, Fry. He heard murmuring from his classmates, who were obviously just now figuring out he was telling the truth. Flash, on the other hand, looked like he bit into a particularly sour lemon. Peter didn't know if that made him happy or anxious. Chapter 2. Tony guided them through the museum, telling anecdotes about each display. There were different displays for each Avenger, and even a small section dedicated to Pepper and her work as CEO. Peter was sure Tony only made it so he could not so suddenly brag about his wife. Psst, Peter, look. Ned nudged him, nodding towards the next display. It's Spider-Man. Ned was practically shaking in excitement. Peter shook his head at him in amusement. It probably doesn't have anything you don't already know, Peter pointed out. Schematics, it's still cool, Ned grinned. Tony gave them all 20 minutes to go through the exhibit themselves after she finished. Ned, unsurprisingly, beelined for the Spider-Man display. Oh, this is so cool, he gasped out. Wait, I forgot you were scared of spiders. Ned laughed as he looked over the fun facts part of this display. Can you blame me? They're sneaky little Parker. Flash cut in angrily. Peter mentally groaned. What, Flash? How much work on your knees did you have to do to get people to go along with your little lie? Flash hissed. Excuse you. I know you hate to be wrong, but that's just sick, Flash. Peter grimaced. I actually work here. Get over it. His watch vibrated, but Peter couldn't look at it as Flash grabbed his collar. There's no way you work here. Stark Industries is top of the line. They don't accept idiots like you, Flash said, annoyed. Maybe they just don't accept morons like you, MJ cut in. Peter didn't even notice her walking over. Shut up, Jones. This has nothing to do with you, Flash sniped back. His watch vibrated again. It has nothing to do with you either, Peter snapped back. Why are you so fucking obsessed with where I work? Peter exclaimed in exasperation. Because you don't deserve to work here, Flash replied. Is there a problem here? Tony interrupted with a tight smile. No, Flash gritted out harshly, letting go of Peter. He stumbled back and managed to catch himself on the rail that kept people from touching the display. His watch vibrated once more, but he ignored it to glare up at Flash. Yes, Peter replied. I am done with your shit, Flash. Fuck off. Flash raised his fist. What was that, you? Enough! Stark Industries has a no bullying rule. If you can't keep your hands to yourself, I'm gonna have to ask you to... A loud wail cut her off. Peter gasped and fell to his knees in pain. He brought his hands up to his ear with a whimper, just barely managing to hear Friday over the noise. Lockdown. Please stay where you are until further notice. I repeat, the building has gone into lockdown. Please stay where you are until further notice. The wailing quieted, and Peter slowly pulled his hand away, peering up through teary eyes as he noticed the room was washed in a red glow. Everybody was looking around in shock. He could see Mr. Harrington off to the side, talking to Tony, and one of Flash's goons hitting the steel that covered the windows. Ned and MJ were hovering over him, worry clear in their eyes. Peter? Ned thankfully whispered. Are you okay? You just collapsed. Yeah, sorry. I just forgot how loud that siren was. He swallowed thickly, pushing back to his feet. He stumbled and shot Ned a weak smile when his best friend kept him from falling over. Put in those earphones of yours, MJ suggested. A frown twitched at her lips. Good idea. He gave her a shaky smile before tugging his earphones out of his pocket. After a few attempts, he finally managed to get them in. He sighed in relief, taking a moment to bask in the sudden silence. After a few moments, he reluctantly adjusted the volume so he could hear. Better? Ned asked, a hesitant smile on his lips. Yeah, much, he replied, making sure to smile back. Ned's shoulders slumped with obvious relief. His watch vibrated again, and this time he actually looked at it. 10:45 a.m. Future husbando. Please tell me you're okay. Peter winced. Harley knew how bad Peter's sensory overloads could be. He was probably panicking upstairs right now. Feeling slightly guilty for worrying his boyfriend, he immediately replied. 10:45 a.m. To future husbando. I'm fine. Just got startled. 10:45 a.m. Future husbando. You sure you weren't answering me? 10:46 a.m. To future husbando. Yeah, sorry. I have my earphones in now. I should be fine. Who are you texting? Ned asked curiously. Just Harley. He's in the building too, Peter replied sheepishly. Oh, your lab partner Harley? Ned replied enthusiastically. Yeah, him. Peter couldn't meet his eyes. He still has yet to tell Ned about his relationship with Harley. He should probably do that soon. And tell him about Mai, too. He mentally grimaced at the thought. He was so not looking forward to that conversation. To future husbando. Do you know what happened? Is Mai okay? Where are you both? Peter really hoped they were right. 10:47 a.m. Future husbando. We're fine. Upstairs watching Scooby-Doo. Mai had a small freak-out when the sirens went off. 10:37 a.m. Future husbando. As for what happened, as far as I can tell, there's been an invasion. Don't ask by who. I don't know, and Friday won't tell me anything else. That didn't seem right. Friday always told them if something was happening, unless she didn't know either. That wasn't a very good thought. Can't leave the building while in lockdown. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrington, but your class will just have to hang tight. I'm sure it'll be taken care of soon. Tony's voice drifted into his ear. He glanced over to see Mr. Harrington with a deep frown on his face, and Tony standing in front of him with an uneasy smile. But surely there is something you can do. My class is panicking. Mr. Harrington sounded like he might also be on the verge of a panic attack himself. I'm sorry, but I'm not high enough level. During a lockdown, only those with either a red or gold badge can do anything, Tony replied with a helpless shrug. 10:49 a.m. Future husbando. Where are you right now? 10:49 a.m. To future husbando. Museum level. We were just about to leave when the alarms went off. A gold badge? Mr. Harrington murmured. His eyes lit up. Parker. He has a gold badge, right? Peter snapped his head up toward them. What? Peter blinked a couple of times. They weren't seriously going to make him do it, are they? He didn't even know what was going on. I mean, maybe he could try. Tony shrugged. Mr. Harrington nodded. Right, Parker, come here, he called out to him. Peter slowly walked over to him, Ned and MJ following quietly behind him. Yeah? You have a gold badge, right? Mr. Harrington questioned. Yeah, Peter nodded. Do you think you can try to get Friday to take us down to the lobby? By now, most of the class was watching, and it made Peter very uncomfortable. He never was good with crowds, and something was making the spider sense go haywire. He assumed it had something to do with why the building was on lockdown. I can try, he replied, hesitant. Great, thank you. Tony gave him a soft smile. Peter gave her a soft smile back before speaking up. Friday? There was no response for a long, breathtaking moment. Then, yes, Peter? He breathed out in relief. Hey, can you tell me what's going on? Why is the building in lockdown? There's been a sudden influx of unknown spaceships entering the atmosphere. 3 of those ships have landed in New York, extremely close to SI Tower. As is protocol, the building has been put into lockdown mode until further notice, Friday informed him. I see. And when do you think that will be? Peter asked with a frown. Mr. Stark has informed me that these ships contain aliens hoping to commander Earth. Various Avengers have been sent to deal with them, but I do not know when they will have completed their mission. Right now, I recommend staying indoors while the threat is being taken care of. Panic shouts flooded the area as soon as she finished, causing Peter to wince. How long will that be? What if we get hungry? What will he eat? Is there a bathroom here? Please tell me there's a bathroom. Quiet! Tony yelled over the sudden influx of voices. Once everybody was silent again, she continued. Peter, can you ask Friday if there is anywhere else we can go while we wait? Peter nodded, his stomach twisting with nerves. Hey, Fry, is there anywhere we can wait? Preferably somewhere where we can get food? The elevators are currently offline, Friday replied. What about the stairs? Peter asked. All staircases have been blocked in case of a break-in, Friday stated. Peter frowned, thinking heavily. What are we gonna do? I'm starving. I hope we don't have to sleep here. I hate sleeping on the floor. Hey, Friday, if I override the lockdown, could we take the elevator? Peter asked over the numerous complaints. Yes, but I suggest not leaving the building, Friday repeated. What if we don't leave? Peter suggested. Can you take us upstairs? Of course. Do you want me to inform Harley? Friday asked. Ignoring the murmuring of his classmates, trying to figure out who Harley was, Peter nodded. He swiped his badge against the scanner next to the elevator they came upon. Yeah, alright. Override protocol. Take us up to floor 87, he added. This is gonna be fun, Peter thought sarcastically. Overriding protocol. Protocol overridden. Please step into the elevator. The doors dinged open, and his classmates rushed into it. Thank you, Peter, Mr. Harrington said with a smile as he passed him. Tony also thanked him, patting him on the shoulder as she headed into the elevator. It's not that big of a deal, really, he said as the doors closed. Let's hope I don't regret this. Peter has requested I inform you that he and his class are on the way up. Harley furrowed his brows. Up? As in, up here? He asked. Yes, as far as I could tell, many of his classmates were complaining about potentially not having anything to eat while they wait, Friday replied. Harley shook his head. All right, are they coming up now? They will be here in 25 seconds. Harley nodded and headed out of Peter's room. Mai had fallen asleep once the excitement had worn off. She just barely managed to crawl into Peter's bed before she passed out. The elevator dinged just as he was entering the main room. He quirked a brow as a wave of students came crashing out of the doors. Please, leave faster, he drawled, taking a bit of pleasure in seeing most of them jump at his voice. Who the fuck are you? An angry-looking brunette asked. Santa Claus, Harley replied sarcastically. That must be Flash, Harley thought, outwardly as he narrowed his eyes in distaste. Harley! Peter called, running over to him. Peter caught him with a smile, expression brightening. Hey. Peter grinned back. He glanced behind him briefly as he lowered his voice. Mai? He inquired softly. Sleeping in your room, he responded. Peter nodded, slumping in good relief. Good. Hey, Parker. Flash corrected himself at the look Tony sent him. You gonna introduce us to your boyfriend there, or are you just gonna make out? He snarked. Peter flushed slightly as he pulled away from Harley. Right, sorry. This is Harley. He's another intern who works here. Flash rolled his eyes. Doubtful. Everyone ignored him. Peter glanced around for his friends, seeing Ned looking around in awe, and MJ sitting on the couch sketching. Is this really the penthouse? Does Mr. Stark live here? What about Pepper? Oh my god, look at this room. Settle down, Mr. Harrington exclaimed. Nobody listened to him. Tony gave a weary smile. I doubt that would work. They're too excited. Let me try. She cleared her throat. Shut up! She shouted. There was a sudden silence, everyone looking at her in surprise. Thank you, Tony smiled. Now, she continued, as this is a private living quarters, you are not to touch anything or take any pictures without permission. If it is found out that you have, well, let's just say SI has great lawyers. She beamed, a sharp look in her eyes. There were murmured complaints, but for the most part, everyone put away their phones or set down what they were holding. Peter mentally noted to himself to ask Mr. Stark to give her a pay raise. She definitely deserved one. Right. Peter cleared his throat, gathering their attention once more. Like what Tony said, please don't touch anything. You can watch TV or get food from the fridge, even use the bathroom in the hall, first door on the right, he added. But please ask before you use anything else. As ironic as it sounds, Mr. Stark loves his privacy. Flash glared at him. And why should we listen to you? Harley quirked a brow. Probably because Tony is practically Peter's dad, he replied blandly. Peter flushed again. Harley! What? It's true. You even call him Dad. Harley grinned at him. Harley laughed at him. You called Tony Stark Dad? Was the anonymous shout. Peter winced at the sudden volume. Harley frowned at him. He turned to the group. You can ask questions later. He started herding Peter out of the room. If you'll excuse us. Mr. Harrington looked like he was about to object, but Tony set a hand on his arms, shaking her head. She knew enough about them to know that if anyone was allowed to roam around, it would be them. Are you okay? Harley asked as soon as they disappeared from view. Peter nodded. Just a little headache, he replied. I really wasn't expecting that alarm, he frowned. I wonder why. Your spidey sense didn't warn you? Harley asked as he opened the door to Peter's room. Maya was fast asleep on the bed. She had taken to sleeping with one or both of them recently, citing nightmares. Harley was sure enough that she was just lonely at night. Either way, neither of them minded. Peter shook his head. No, but I was kind of distracted at the time. He trailed off. Distracted by what? Harley asked, curious. A nuisance, Peter sighed. You would think Flash would give it a rest after having my internship be confirmed by both Friday and you, one of which being an AI Tony Stark built himself. Peter rolled his eyes. Anyway, Friday, he called, ignoring his boyfriend's annoyed expression. Hearing about Flash always pissed Harley off. Peter had to keep him from going out and decking the guy on multiple occasions. Has Tony contacted you at all? I tried texting him on the way up, but he didn't reply. I tried too, but didn't get a response either. Harley rolled his eyes. All communication has been cut off. I cannot keep in contact with any of the Avengers. Friday almost sounded worried. Peter cursed. That can't be good. Harley sighed. Nope, definitely not. Hey Fry, what about the other employees? Peter asked. Section A and D are holed up on floor 30. Section B is on floor 35, and Section C was not scheduled to work today, was the immediate reply. Both of those floors have cafeterias on them, right? Peter questioned. Floor 55 has 3 snack machines and 2 drink machines. Floor 30 has a small food court. Friday confirmed. Right. If the lockdown continues into the night, I want you to give the employees free rein of the snack machine and food court. Tell them it's on me. Understood. Out of the corner of his eye, Peter noticed Harley grinning at him. What? He asked, his cheeks heating up. Harley shrugged. Nothing. I just think you look really hot right now, darling. Peter was sure he looked like a fire truck. Harley, Maya is right there, he pointed out. And I'm merely being honest. He winked at him. You're impossible, Peter huffed, even as he smiled back at him. Both of them were dragged out of their little bubble by a knock on the door. Peter, are you in here? Ned called out. Peter glanced at Maya, then Harley panicked.